Hey everybody, it's Steve here from Dark Art Astronomy, and this is part 2 of Just Say No to ZWO, and the evidence I found was totally shocking. Colonel, did ZWO comply with open source GPL license agreements and the United States Copyright Act?
Nobody cares. Go back to making your pretty pictures on Astrobin.
I want answers.
You want answers?
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Try me.
Fine. Licenses aren't sexy, compliance doesn't sell cameras, and most people won't read past the marketing page.
So the answer is no.
The answer is look the other way and ship the product.
So not compliant.
It's a matter of perspective. We have a GitHub page. What more do you want?
That's not perspective. That's avoidance. And now we're going to break it down line by line, bit by bit. Let's get started right now. In part 1 to Just Say No to ZWO, I said I was going to present evidence of ZWO's non-compliance with open source licensing agreements, and in this video we provide that evidence. The evidence consists primarily of an analysis done by a technical expert who analyzed the ASI error code, decompiled it, and compared it to the code available on the open source libraries, and ultimately found that there were hundreds, if not thousands, of lines of code included in the ZWO library that have been taken from open source libraries. And therefore, under the law and under the agreement, ZWO is required to make its code open to the public. So that's what the first expert is going to talk to you about. The second expert is somebody I found sort of inadvertently, who has also posted on this. His name is Bill Nash. He's an astrophotographer of some fame, and he also has analyzed the ZWO ASI error code and also concluded that that code is taken directly from open source libraries, triggering the requirement that ZWO make the entire code public. So today we're going to go through those two interviews, and there's a link in the description to download the analysis created by the first expert. So let's get started with that.
Hello, my name is Malik Saad Ahmed. I am a software engineer from Pakistan.
So first of all, what are your qualifications?
I am a Bachelor of Science in Artificial Intelligence and Software Engineering from Air University of Pakistan. I've completed my degree and specialization in AI. I'm currently a software engineer and an open source compliance specialist.
Thank you. And what materials did you review for your analysis?
I received a 31 GB Linux image. The main purpose was to mount it as a read-only application, and I was supposed to find all the components if they were GPL compliant or not. Okay.
And do you understand that what you received was an image of an ASI error device?
Yes.
Okay. And did you in fact perform your analysis?
Yes, I performed my analysis using all the techniques that were used as an industry standard. They were also being used by the Linux Foundation.
Just generally speaking, in plain English, what were your findings for your initial report?
In the initial report, the main findings were that there was no compliance of GPL licensing, there was no proper source code documentation, there was no reference link to the source code as the GPL license points state that there must be proper source code for the disk image. We did identify static image linking.
Now, I have created a PDF document of your report, which I'm going to share on the screen at this time. Do you see this document?
Yes, I see it.
And I have put a label on it that says Exhibit A. And then if we page down on the report, we can see that each page is numbered. ZWO analysis all the way through page 260. I believe there's 260 pages here of analysis.
Yes.
And is this your analysis?
Yes, this is my analysis.
Now, if we go to, let's just say we go to the last page of the analysis, page 260, in the far left, we have 1,782 rows. Does this fairly reflect the extent of the use by ZWO of information from the GPL libraries?
Yes.
What are your conclusions?
My conclusion is that it is not GPL compliant at all.
The second individual is totally different. He's an astrophotographer, and a really good one. He's also technically sophisticated. He's a user who independently analyzed ZWO's code and system behavior on his own initiative. Working separately and without coordination, he reached similar conclusions regarding ZWO's compliance with open source licensing obligations. So, Bill, thank you for joining us today and agreeing to be interviewed for Dark Art Astronomy YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate it.
Happy to help.
And first of all, would you mind letting our viewers know what your education and experience is, your background?
I've spent the past 30 years of my career building internet and internet-related technologies. From like my first job, once I left home, I was working for a dial-up ISP way back when, and I've been in that field ever since. So various aspects, network and systems engineering is what I do now. My focus is on large-scale network management, so I write a lot of software for managing large chunks of the internet. I've done everything from rack and stacking of servers, switches, routers, cabling, all the way through building servers, building full applications, network security. I've done quite a bit over my career, but my focus these days is network management.
So our topic today has to do with whether ZWO is complying with open source licensing agreements. You've already done a lot of research on this topic, but can you tell us what got you down this path? What prompted you to even investigate the issue?
So security on the ASI Air is not great. So they had changed the Indy server in such a way that other tools wouldn't work with it. Even though like they ship the drivers for some of these devices from third parties are actually present on the ASI Air, they won't work because of the way they changed the Indy server. So that was when I first started contacting them and say, hey, this is modified. Where's your source code? Because the Indy library is LGBL2. So you can use it or you can distribute the Indy server as long as you don't modify it. But if you make modifications, you're obligated to release the source code. So I got crickets from ZWO at that point. They didn't respond to me until I started making a lot more noise about it.
Well, so clearly they have not been forthright with you when you've asked them for basic information and asked them just honest questions. Why is that?
Yeah, and well, I know I shared some of their correspondence with you, and their position is because the GPL, that license does something called tainting. If you incorporate any other libraries into your product and you use GPL code, GPL2 specifically and GPL3 if requires that the entire work be open sourced. So they incorporate 2 of their proprietary binaries for camera and focuser control into their product. So the GPL says the whole thing's got to be open source. So they would have to open source their proprietary binaries, which they refuse to. They've been point blank about that. So it's anti-competitive at its root. They needed the Indie server in the ASIR Pro to be able to work with third-party mounts, because at the time that they released that, all they had were cameras and focusers and a filter wheel. They didn't have any mounts on the market, which they do now in the AM3 and the AM5. So they leveraged what they did with the Indie server to get their market share. And then once they came out with their own mounts, they don't really need the Indie server anymore. They could scrap it entirely, but they haven't, because they still need that for everybody who's using a third-party mount now. They would lose that entire market base.
They're accusing you of doing something wrong.
Right. I took a fair amount of heat for being the messenger on this one, because everybody's got their fans, and ZWO undoubtedly has theirs. And several of those people came after me about that. I don't really care, because I know I was right. They're putting all of their vendors at risk because the GPL is a contract. And if you don't fulfill the contract, you don't get copyright distribution rights to any of the code that you've used. But all of their distributors, Agena, Points, they're all at risk. And a couple of them are aware, because I've told them. But I've also told ZWO explicitly that they put their vendors at risk. And their response has been to double down.
Yeah.
This is nothing new. Like, those of us, any of us that are over the age of 20 that grew up watching DVDs and VHSs, that big blue FBI warning right at the beginning of every video that says you're like $250,000, I think the penalty was, and stating that this is a crime. This is the exact thing that ZWO is doing. It doesn't just apply to movies and whatnot. It also applies to software.
And what I think ZWO fails to understand is, in addition to liability for civil remedies, in other words, they might have to pay out money. The Department of Justice could go after them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they realize that if the Department of Justice decided, hey, here's an easy target that we could go after, they're infringing U.S. copyright law, and they're importing products, the Department of Justice could go after them, in addition to the people who run the GPL libraries. I don't think they understand that yet.
Correct.
You have now heard from 2 different software engineers and experts that the ZWO, ASI Air, and related devices, such as the C-Star, are not in compliance with GPL open source library agreements. That means they are also likely infringing United States copyright law by using code that they do not have a license to in the ASI Air and C-Star devices. That means all of the downstream users and sellers, the Agena Astros of the world, and astrophotographers, are technically infringing United States copyright law every time they sell a device or boot it up. It's up to you on what you want to do from here. You can continue the status quo of purchasing these devices with knowledge of what ZWO is doing, or you can decide for yourself to just say no to ZWO. That's what I'm doing. I hope you enjoyed this program. Like and subscribe, and I promise more interesting content coming very soon. Clear skies.